Okay, we made it. Today is the day. All 8 members of Cang Toys are here. They're Predacons to combine into Thunderking. Now, I don't mind telling you, getting them into these modes, into their combined form, was difficult. Probably the most difficulty I've had with all of this set. Some more than others. Some were quite simple by comparison. Some more updated engineering as the releases went on. But some were just downright hard work. And considering, I'll touch on this at the end, but considering this is probably going to be the last thing that you do with this set, with any combined set, is to put it into a combined form. It's the last impression you get of a figure. And it's a shame because it actually deducts something, because it wasn't fun getting them into some of these modes. The ones that I thought would be difficult were actually fairly straightforward, relatively speaking. The ones that I thought would be straightforward were actually quite difficult. Nevertheless, here we are. We have all 8 members, all lined up. And I'm sorry to see this set go. For a while, I've had them displayed mostly in their beast form, a couple in robot mode, and I've really loved seeing them on the shelf. I do think when you got them all together and you realise you have a complete Predacon set, with the last one coming out of Huge Rhino, not Hunger Rhino as I called it in the previous video, you can't believe I did that. I'll quickly touch on that. I saw that somewhere. I think I saw someone type Hunger Rhino, and I just never thought to check. And then someone commented on the last video I put out. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame that I've done that, kicking myself for that. But with that set all together, it's been a great journey. And I do think when you get combining parts and limbs one at a time, building each piece as you go, it really adds to the fun of combiners. And this is one reason why combiners are so popular. You are adding, you are working to an end goal, rather than just getting an individual figure that you just quite like. I loved all of these. Just to give you a quick breakdown, I think the best robot mode looking of the bunch, and I've had to steal this picture because I didn't put them all in robot mode side by side. The best looking robot mode I'd actually say would be Firmament, would be Dive Bomb, probably one of the closest to the original, and I do really love that presence of wingspan. It's a space killer, but it looks brilliant. Landball gets a close second. I do always like it, probably the most G1 looking of the lot. In terms of beast mode, in terms of alt mode, it's got to be Razor Claw, but I will say Thorilla, Monkey Pants. The more I had him in gorilla mode, the more I liked him, even though I had no emotional connection to him. I just really liked him as a piece. But Razor Claw, King Lion, that is one of my favourite bots of all. I am a big Razor Claw fan, but I just loved how he looks. And when I put him into this torso mode for Predaking, it was just, wow. That is impressive how a lion folds up into all of that. I will just say a big shout out and a thank you to MGO for doing the transformation videos into these modes. I followed the instructions provided and the instructions were fine, but video representation really helped in getting things into certain angles, considering these are really heavy. And nothing broke per se, but my God, the tolerances on some of them were so tight. Some of them really fought you, particularly on the earlier releases. Okay, we've come this far. We know what you're here for. Let's get them combined up into Thunderking. There it is in combined Thunderking mode. Absolutely spectacular. Absolutely glorious. Absolutely empowering, imposing, inspiring, obscene. Everything a set like this should be. Not without some problems on the way. And was it stressful putting it together? Yes, very much so. We'll cover off the negatives first because it's not 100% perfect. Now, the knee supports that you can see, it comes with Thorilla. Now, tilt the camera down. You can see there, it comes with some knee braces. Now, take it from me, you really should apply those first. Don't do what I did and build the figure and then realise they need to go on last. They very much are needed. They are knee braces. There's no other way to really put it. But they do really help with the support of the figure, because if you start from the bottom and build it all the way up, torso, by the time you get to the arms, it's too much weight for it. So the knee braces make all the difference, and they're quite awkward to combine and fit. Now, I will say this, I'm not going to say that I've combined everything perfectly straight away. This is a brand new figure and instructions are vague as to putting it together. The instructions that came with Huge Rhino, not Hunger Rhino, did show you a lot of how to assemble it, but even then it's very much a find out for yourself. I'm not certain about Rampage's arms there at the very top, whether they're supposed to rotate down on the side. I mean, I was following instructional videos. I'm going to have to do some clearing up. Also, just down on the bottom leg on Landball, on Tantrum, it's not the end of the world, but these, which are his shoulder pads, for lack of a term, did pop off. They're on a ball joint, they can go back on, but to get it cleaned up fully, that's going to be a bit awkward to do so. So just to kind of bring that to your attention. But building wise wasn't awful once you get things aligned. Probably applying the feet to the legs was the hardest bit, because that was a bit tight on the sliding joints. And attaching the monkey pants to the torso was actually the best bit, and the arms probably the easiest of all. The hardest part was actually finding out where the wings went, because I couldn't find anywhere in the instructions that told you. It turns out they pig at the very bottom of the cannons, or should I say the side of the cannons. It was the only place they could fit. So I believe that's right. It certainly looks right. It just looks incredible. It's so centerpiece worthy. It's not even close to... I've got a couple of masterpiece combiners, but it's not even close to anything else. It's a piece of its own. Is it even Transformers? Well, it resembles Predaking, and the others resemble their counterparts. It's heavily stylized Predaking. You could argue that's not my Predaking. Yep, sure, fine. But for me, it resembles enough of a Predaking to be a proper, true, heavily die-cast masterpiece Predaking. And this is what I said kind of throughout this set. It is masterpiece. Everything about it is masterpiece. It is very heavy. One of the heaviest singular figures. Well, it's not singular, is it? 6 of them. But one of the heaviest combined figures I can even lift and hold. Yet stability isn't a problem. Now, admittedly, I haven't got it into poses yet. I've only just built it. I'm going to try and get it into some poses for some photos I'll put up at the end. It's incredible. It's a tremendous piece of engineering. I'm so glad I stuck with it. I'm so glad I saw it through to the end. And yes, it is not cheap. And people can say, how could you possibly commit to something like this? But this was over 2 years in the making to get to this point. And you see how far back I've had to come to get true masterpiece combiners in the same shot. So we have on the left Zeta Toys Metallic Superion. That's Kronos or Superitron on the left and Baruticon on the left. At the very bottom you have Fans Toys Masterpiece Sovereign, their version of Galvatron, and in the middle Predaking. or Thunderking to give him his true name. Now, I don't believe, nor have I ever believed, that Predaking is the biggest combiner of all. I've always believed all combiners are the same size, whether it's a Menasor, Devastator, Predaking, whoever. 5 combiners, 6 combiners, it doesn't matter. They're all the same height to me. But this scale, and the fact that it's 6 real masterpiece bots, probably means that he does edge them a little bit. I mean, head-to-head height, he's about the same as Bruticus. The wings obviously give a mass advantage. And you've got to think that Cang Toys will be doing the Dinobots next that probably combine into Volcanicus. You've got to expect that's going to be on a similar scale. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the batteries needed to make the head light up for this, but they do take LR44 batteries, which unfortunately I do not have any of. I have every other battery but. And unfortunately, I can't show that to you, but the eyes would light up, and it's pretty easy to get the batteries in from what I can see. The back of the head comes off, and they just slot in the back. It takes 2 of them. So, yeah, sorry I couldn't get that feature to light up and show you. It would have been cool to see. But as I say, I've got every other set of batteries other than these ones. So let's look at his weapons, and his gun, to my surprise, can actually be hand mounted as well as arm mounted. Now the arm mounting comes with a part which I lost at the time of recording and I have now since found. But it can actually flip down, to my surprise, and actually act as a holster for the gun. But the trouble is, when he holds the arm up, and even rotating at the shoulder, it will cause the figure to lean forward and ultimately topple. That's a bit of a shame. It's just too much to ask to maintain the gun's weight as well as the weight of the arm. However, I am pleased to say on the other side with the sword that that is not the case. Some of you would have seen that in my previous video for Huge Rhino. I wasn't a fan of the sword, but seeing the colour scheme with him, I'm coming round to it a bit more. And okay, yes, it does look a little bit He-Man, maybe Thundercats, but that looks pretty stunning. And he holds it pretty well. He can hold it outwards, maybe a little bit of droopage-ish, but not much. It's a plastic sword. It's not holding mechanical weight to it. So what are my final thoughts on the state of this? How do I even begin to sum it up? How do I sum up 2 years worth of collecting? Now, I'll start off with some negative points. Now, I'm first to admit, before you go off in the comments, I know there's some things I haven't put away. I know there's a tail of Tantrum that doesn't seem to want to tuck under. I couldn't get the foot to apply. I need to kind of work through that and tidy it up a little bit more. I haven't had this built in this mode for very long. So there may be some tweaks here and there that I'm sure some people are going to point out to me. But this, to best of my understanding from what I can find on videos, talking online on forums, or looking at the instructions, speaking of which, the instructions, absolute booklets worth of the stuff. Some really detailed ones and quite good with the Huge Rhino, not Hunger Rhino. At the end, it shows you how to apply the gun and how to build the sword, or sword. So the gun piece as well, I've got to find to apply it to the arm. I'd like to get that complete if I can. But the negatives, it's very stressful. I found it very stressful. One, putting the individual modes into their combined forms and then combining it. So, firstly, putting them into combined forms, I said it at the start of the video, some of the engineering almost felt a bit overcomplicated. I mean, really good engineering. I mean, tip my hat to it, but not fun and a lot to do, particularly the torso. Now, yes, that's a gorilla, that's a lion that folds up into a body of a massive combiner. It was never going to be straightforward if that's the route you're going to go down. Fine, okay. It wasn't as simplistic as I would have liked, and it certainly wasn't as enjoyable. But, you know, I do really love the end results, however unpleasant that was. The anxiety as well that came with it. I liken this to Thew's video when he transformed Unicron, and he said that is anxiety building, that is stressful, and that's not fun. And I've said for a long time, if a transformer isn't fun, then it fails as a transformer. Now, this is by no means a failure. The end product, the presentation, is stunning, is absolutely beautiful. And it's so big, and my God, is it heavy. I can't tell you this circumference, this is the biggest transformer in my collection. Bigger than the Zeta combiners, bigger than Titan's Return, Fortress Maximus, bigger than Earthrise, Scorponok. And I absolutely love it. I love it because even though it's not a G1 styled Predaking, it is a Predaking to me. It is a true masterpiece Predaking. Now, yes, it's got 8 members. You didn't pay for 8 members, not really, unless you count these somewhat inflated prices, but there's 8 members making up a die-cast combiner. Now, we're not really flush with true MP scale combiners. We are looking at the Zeta ones, Moon Studios, Toy World, that's kind of it. Everything else is down ever so slightly. So this is one on that scale. And this is very die cast. There's hardly any plastic here to the ratio, certainly to the weight, in as much as it's just so heavy. One other big negative point, and this was said on a lot of videos, and I'll put up the image to show you what I mean. The combiner port for Firmament for Dive Bomb was stupidly tight, and I have ruined part of it in trying to get it out with any other type of appliance I could find, any other tool that could have moved it into place. And I have checked on Ben's Collectibles, I looked at MGo's videos, I even looked at Bobby Skullface as well when they were reviewing the figure and getting it into ARM mode. This was a regular problem. Now, squeaky joints was kind of a theme with this set, but tight to the point of being unable to move, and that's what it was. You couldn't move it, and I was putting every ounce of pressure behind it, damaging the figure, because I thought, I've got to get it in combine mode. I can't have 5 of the 6 members in combine mode and an arm missing. So that was stressful. That was hard work. I do think the knee supports were very much needed, and I do need to kind of set him a bit more round the ankles. I'm still not comfortable getting it into poses yet either. I'll put some photos up on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter as well. But for now, for the fact that it's been quite an ordeal getting into this state, I'm going to let him rest. I'm going to find a place to try and put him. I reckon I'm going to have to put the wings down, sadly. And yeah, the face isn't a fully Predaking face. I don't love the teeth as much, even though the mouth opens and closes. But if that is what I can say about it, what can I say that's good about it? It's absolutely glorious. It's absolutely stunning. It's huge. It has presence. It has domination. It has everything that a masterpiece combiner should. It certainly has everything a Predaking combiner should. And it's just fantastic to get it to this. Now, yes, look back from where we were. Look back at the original concept art. Now, if I'm led to believe that this was originally borrowed from Zeta when they put out a design, that this was practically a Toy World design. Toy World have kind of ceased to be. Zeta incorporated a lot of their designs. Zeta's Predaking never happened. This design was picked up. Cang Toys was a new company from the ground up, as I understand it. And they decided to run with this, and they made the changes on the way. Now, they said from the start that Monkey Pants, the Thriller, was actually going to be in there. Then they adapted their design throughout. And people did jump out of this process a long way through. What they saw with the third offering with Dive Bomb, they said, you know what, that's not for me. And Dive Bomb was particularly stylized. It did turn a lot of people off. I stayed with this set, particularly when Razor Claw came out, and I just thought, wow. When the Wolf Foot came out with Razor Claw, I thought, they're serious about this. They're serious about the stability. And nothing of this feels fragile once it's all combined. Yes, you do need the knee supports. I'm perfectly fine with that. But I'd rather have that. I'd rather have that form of parts forming. And this is it. Nothing's gone to waste. The gun is made up of all of their guns. The sword is made up of all of their swords. The knee pads came with Thriller, which he would use as extra big fists, perhaps. So nothing is of a wasted motion. Very few bits are lying around afterwards. It's more or less on him. And that looks fantastic. That shows great engineering, however stressful it was to combine. I do think this is going to be a space killer for a lot of people, and it's going to be a money absorber. But I am so glad that I stuck with this all the way through, because I'm such a big fan of the Predacons, because I'm such a big fan of Predaking and Razorclaw, and I love the paintwork. And again, not one blemish of it. It's a perfect paint scheme. I have not come across one, and even combining this, as much as it dug into me, if you can see, and much as it hurt, nothing broke. Nothing that came off couldn't be reapplied on a ball joint. And that shows great engineering. That's when you feel you are buying masterpiece. It's absolutely pinnacle. And I've said before, when it came to Razorclaw, I didn't think we'd get a better masterpiece Razorclaw, and I still don't think we will. I actually wonder, will we get a better representation of Predaking in a true masterpiece scale? So based on this, what is my final verdict of this figure, Thunderking, as a whole? I have to deduct it something because of that combination being awkward and that utter direness of the combiner port of Dive Bomb. It was so difficult to get it out that other people have said they've got to damage the figure to do so. I have to deduct it at least something for that. And based on that, I give this 5.5 Rodimus Star Badges, and I wanted to give it 6. I wanted to give it 6 because I felt this was special. That I felt this is a bit of a different moment for Transformers collecting. This feels like a game changer to me, in as much as what a new company can do, what a different style could be, what an end result could be when love, attention and care is done with it. And yes, it's 2 years, and yes, it's a lot of money, but if you're going to put all of this together at the end of it with no wasted parts, with no blemish, at a time when QC is very much up in the air when it comes to Transformers at the moment, I had to give it a higher score than normal. And I'm so glad this is now going to be the centerpiece of my collection. But there we go, that is my review of Cang Toys Thunderking, their version of a masterpiece Predaking. Thanks for watching. It's been a long journey, and thank you for sticking to the end if you have done so. If you like this figure, if you like to see other videos, don't forget to hit that like, share and subscribe button. It's been great having you along. It's been great sticking with you for this journey with all the other reviews that we've been doing through this. I'm sorry it's come to an end now, it's finished, but I'm not unhappy with the results. And as always, I will see you on the next one.